We're here again.
Oh, gosh.
Racism. Damn you, racism. Why do people have to be racist, Charlie?
I don't know. How, man? How?
No, so on the overlap, Gary Neville was talking to Ian Wright and he was asking him to elaborate on what he was saying about Jude Bellingham. And there's this idea that Jude Bellingham is too big for his boots or he's arrogant and things of that nature. So Ian Wright, honestly, shout out to Ian Wright, you know, for just being so unfiltered and just...
That's why it's my goal.
And letting the cat out of the bag.
And I'm worried for Jude simply because he's somebody that they can't control. You can't control him. Obviously, coming off of the who else and what he done in the World Cup, he's showing people that, you know, I'm here, I'm black, I'm proud, I'm ready to go. All that vibe is something that a certain man can't deal with.
I agree with you. A personal experience, and I've spoken about this in 2016, that Raheem Sterling came to see me in the tournament and said that he felt as though he was being persecuted, that it was unfair and it was basically not relating to football. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time me giving him a completely and utterly inadequate answer, and I've spoken about this publicly since, where I said, look, Raheem, it's because of your quality and who you are and what you are that they're criticising you. I remember they did this with Wayne Rooney. I actually name-checked him. They did this with David Beckham. They did this with Paul Gascoigne. The best players, the biggest names. But actually what I didn't read at the time, and to be fair, what he was actually crying out and asking me for help for was around the fact that this wasn't relating to his football performances, which it was with maybe yourself or with Gaza or with Bex. Yeah. It was more around the colour of his skin. Everything and else. This persecution around how if he had a car that was this and another player had a car that was this that was white, there was a difference in reporting of it. Do you think that is happening again in front of our eyes here?
You know something, I remember saying, I had to do something for GQ not long ago, and I said, I don't think, as Englishmen, there's certain Englishmen, I'm an Englishman, I can't hide from that. Even though when I was younger, people would say, yeah, but you're not really English, are you? Yeah, I'm English. I don't think they're ready for a black superstar like that, who can move like Jude's moving. You know, they can't touch him, like I just said. He goes out there, he performs, he does what he does. He says, who else? It's too uppity for these people. Something that they used to say back in the day. If you're a black guy or a black man who's, you know what, I put it in a football term. So everybody, they love N'Golo Kante. He's a humble black man, gets on with what he's doing. I'm not saying that he's an Uncle Tom or anything, just saying that's how his personality is. But if you get a Pogba or a Bellingham and you get that kind of energy, that does not sit well with the people, that kind of person. So someone like Jude, for some reason, frightens these people because of his capability and the inspiration he can give. It's something that you're taught when you're, as a black man, when you're going out there, you just want to try and do the best you can and keep your head down and be, for want of a better, humble slave. This is where this is dragging up from that kind of energy. Because if you are outspoken black and doing that kind of, playing to that kind of level and not caring, that frightens certain people. And that's what's going to happen with Jude. This guy who I'm telling you about in respects of he's obsessed with him. He's moving off of that energy. He can't look and see a black man doing what Jude's doing and think that that's not uppity. He's not an uppity. That's where I'm going with that. That's where that comes down to.
Yeah. Arsenal legend.
And big up to Gary Neville as well. I know you're not his biggest fan, but I respect him, you know. So, and yeah, so he was talking about Sterling and he was just getting, obviously he was getting scapegoated for England being knocked out of major tournaments, you know. And yeah, so Gary Neville was like, look, I was trying to put my arm around his shoulder, but it was, I couldn't relate, you know. I couldn't relate, and then I was out saying to him, my perception was, no, it's because of your quality, and Rooney was there, so I was saying that, yeah, they were doing that to Wayne as well, but after he saw on Twitter, a couple of years later, they were talking about Sterling, talking about the reporting when a white player buys his parents a house compared to a black player when they do the same thing. And
stereotype.
And basically, Gary Neville was like, it's clear as day, you know, the bias in this reporting, you know. So obviously, Ian Wright, you know, absolutely hitting the nail on the head in everything he was saying, and we got there's so many elements to this, because we've got to obviously judge footballers on their performances as well, and Tuchel's come in as like a no nonsense type of gaffer, hasn't he? So. And there's a couple sound bites also that I want to touch on. Tuchel said his own mother thinks Bellingham's attitude is repulsive at times, and so it seems. And then,
is that confirmed? Did she actually say that?
No. This is what Tuchel said. Yeah. We'll put it on screen. Yeah, Sky Sports made a statement out of what he said. But you know what? The media obviously like to. Use certain things you've said. Even though you have said it, but basically they can take you out of context. But at the same time, you said it. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, and Ian Wright brought up, they want you to be like Kante. You know, I'm so glad this sort of discourse is happening. You know what? This can never happen on Sky. You know, TalkSport like to have a go with these controversial subjects, but you know, it was on Overlap, which is essentially Gary Neville's platform. You know, so I feel like you can just talk properly on there,
not filtered.
Do you know what I mean? Filtered. You know, so so it's like it was saying Kante is. No, he wasn't saying. He was saying basically he's not implying that Kante is the Uncle Tom, but that's the type of black guy that they want to see, who is humble, who gets on with it, who doesn't wear flashy jewelry, who hasn't got a flashy car, who hasn't got a mansion, you know, all round nice guy. So basically a teacher's pet that does what he's told. So that's the sort of black footballer that they like. You know, they're not ready for a black superstar. So if you're a bit like Bellingham or a Pogba, now it's problematic, you know. So yeah, so personally, I don't enjoy having these conversations, but I don't like to avoid them either, you know. And there is so much sides to this, you know. So I just want us to try and touch on and as many of those elements as possible, you know, and see the conclusion. Obviously, the World Cup is next year, and you know the English media, football media, has been problematic for forever. You know what I'm saying? They don't help. You know, footballers such as Raheem Sterling's come out. You know, Saka, you know, calling out social media companies, calling out newspapers.
I was going to say, you say in the media about English football, it's everyone. How many times was Rooney on the front page in the newspaper back in the day? He's done this, he's disgusting, he's cheated on his wife, he's done... So it's not just...
You say that though, Charlie, but Rooney even said, like, I can't relate to someone like Wrighty because mine wasn't racially motivated. Rooney himself said that. This is the thing, Charlie. And yes, they do. The media do have their targets, black or white. But the problem is there's a history of the reporting, especially against someone like Raheem Sterling. You know, there was one article the Sun had. It was about when he made his move from QPR to Liverpool. It was like, Raheem, footy idiot, Raheem Sterling, footy idiot, to something along the lines of 100.
Only like 16 as well.
Exactly, 100k a week. Well. They've slated that guy, bro. I done a dissertation at university. I've studied media. My dissertation, do you know what it was? It was on racism in English football. I've really touched on. I was drawing on actually Simon Jordan's comments when Saka. Do you remember the Black Ice news? Yeah. When I think it was against Iceland. England lost. Saka only come on for like half an hour, 20 minutes or something like that. I thought it was shorter than that. Barely touched the ball. Next day, the papers, you know, all this racially motivated, ambiguous, headlines. You know what I'm saying? And women, so Jordan was talking about it, saying, "Oh my days." Like, one minute he was admitting like there's definitely a problem, and the other minute he's like, we can't look at everything through the lens of race. Nobody does though. But when it's actually going on, this is what I'm saying. When Rooney, like, this is why these conversations are important. It's for everyone to acknowledge, hey, no, there is an agenda, especially against black. Because the thing is, you use Rooney, anyone that comes from the working class and dares to overachieve is already a problem. There's something called intersectionality. This is a white country, black people are a minority, just because you see black people every day in London. Do you know what I mean? That's not a reflection of the whole of the United Kingdom.
No, I feel like the worst one is.
I've said it a billion times, so the prejudice from the media is evident, in the language that they use, and in terms of the way they talk about players of colour, and sometimes you get a subconscious bias, which I think someone like Simon Jordan has.
Who?
Van
Who's getting more
Dijk's
than that?
won that.
So
Diaz.
Well, they're better players.
I know, but I'm saying he's been as consistent.
He wants a £10 million sign-on. Are you reading this? He wants his ghastly, wretched agent wants 10 million quid.
But that's why he's letting his contract.
This is madness.
But that's just great. But
greed. It's absolute greed. He's going to Real Madrid because he's greedy.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
But that's why.
Good riddance.
That's why you get into good riddance. That's why you get into the end of your contract.
Because it's language. When you use the words like when Rudiger went to Madrid from Chelsea, he was there frothing at the mouth saying Rudiger is greedy. You had Sterling's media representative who went on Sky Sports News. I'll never forget this, and he was talking about the language surrounding black superstars that the mainstream media use and they deploy when they're talking about.
Having worked in the tabloid industry, the word bling is shorthand for young, black and rich.
Does somebody say, right, let's get him again today, let's nail him today?
No, I don't think it's like that.
He was leaving Liverpool for Manchester City. He was greedy because he wanted a pay rise. And then on it goes. We've got one after the other. He took a flight on a budget airline and he's criticised for that because he earns so much money a week.
I think there is an agenda against Raheem Sterling. He's had the audacity to be young, black and extremely talented. If you remember, during Euro 16, there was a web page put up which called on people to donate money so that they could buy a ticket to send him home. That was one English player. Now, not one other England player got the same treatment.
Players such as Sterling, greedy, flashy, something about your haircut, and they always bring up where he was born. He was born, and the gun tattoo.
I was going to say, I remember that one.
Yeah, exactly, and things like that. And you know what it is? Normal people don't care. The problem is the power and the influence of the media. When they start making a thing of it, that's when people start forming opinions. That's
because they want them to care.
Right. So you're literally fueling the media, as Sterling said, they fuel racism. You understand? I'm not saying this is the average white person's fault. No, we're not. You're getting people who are in these newsrooms, who are really out of touch from society. Yeah. And they have a certain worldview and they're in the positions of power. What do you think is going to happen? Sorry, I've said a lot there, but I was just wanting to elaborate because what you said, yeah, it's true, but Rooney himself can acknowledge. Look, I can't relate to you, Wrighty.
Do you not think the media though? It's just they'll attack your weakest point. They'll attack the thing that will get the most attention. So if it's a black player, that's the easiest thing. If they want to fuel something, they can say oh, they're shit at football or whatever, but the easiest thing for them to do is say,
it's
because
usually
they're black.
It's usually reasons outside football. Pogba, when he dyed his hair blonde for a bit, they were saying
that's what I mean, though. It's like that's the easiest thing to
why
for them.
his performances started going downhill. Why he wasn't playing well at the time. So the reporting around, this is what I'm saying. They don't use the same language when it comes to white players.
Yeah,
Charlie.
yeah.
They're literally like the proof is literally in the pudding.
Yeah, in the pudding.
It's something people just need to like understand and just and see, at least if the normal person understands the game that's at hand, that's the most important thing. And fair play to Gary Neville towards the end of that, or that of the video that I was watching on Overlap. He was saying like, I think we need to look at ourselves as pundits, change the way we talk about players, because he was part of. Remember when Pogba was at Man United, and every time it became like Graham Souness became sort of a meme for like how much he was like. Do you know what I'm saying? Hammering Pogba here, and do you know what I'm saying? It win, lose, It's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm not saying like, oh my, he was amazing at United every game. No, it wasn't. But he wasn't as bad as they made out sometimes. You know what I'm saying? He was a perfect example of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and and it's just like the glazing of Foden, man. Look, people might not like what I'm gonna say, but it has to be said, because football's about ability. It's about talent. Like look at France, for example. France are totally different, to England in that aspect. You might look at the French team and you see, oh my day, look, majority of them are black or from like a non-black African country, i.e. Arab, but the country don't care. The country care about winning.
Of course.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's great black players, there's great white players, but when you start seeing the way like I say to myself, imagine Saka had the same sort of record for England that Foden has for England. I wonder how they would have treated him. Can you imagine? Because of his talent, I'm not saying Saka's better than Foden because he's black. No, from how I perceive football and how I watch football, I just think Saka's a better player. I think he's more consistent. I think especially for the England national team,
Yeah, Foden has one good game and then does nothing for 6. Like he just.
But you see, they don't really hammer him though, Charlie. If you've noticed, they don't come out in the same way. Look what Sterling's done for England. Euros was it 2020.
Yeah, I used to rate Sterling.
It's like, look how they're treating Sterling. Like, okay, you can say his pace, he might have lost a yard of pace or whatever. He's had a great career. He's contributed. We know Sterling will never be a great finisher. If he converted all those sitters, mate.
Yeah.
We're talking about a different Sterling here. Grealish is another example, but he's a media darling. Grealish.
Yeah, he is.
He did.
The way they gassed him up, you're like he's
I don't know, sometimes
you see this good looking.
They gassed him up.
Again, how you look is very important. It plays a part.
Bro, they gassed him up to make him seem like he's the next David Beckham, bro.
Yeah, so 2 shows dropped. He dropped Spence as well. Not dropped. Well, he technically has been dropped, but again, it turns out that he disapproved of what Spence done by not going to clap the fans for Spurs when he's playing for Spurs. I can't remember what it was, him and someone else. I can't remember who Spurs played, but Gaffer was saying you got to clap the fans. You weren't interested. Walked straight to the tunnel. So Tuchel was like, no, I'm not. I was just I've got to call it out and stuff like that. So they was talking about that on TalkSport, and I was like, you know what? When you got a job that big and you got to just watch these players all the time, and he said basically, look, they got to remember they're not just England players when they get called up.
Yeah.
They're England players. Like you're representing England, your country, every time you step out on the football pitch for your team. So yeah, and yeah, so just saying like again, back to Ian Wright and. They use the word uppity, he's an uppity. he's too uppity. So the media, the prejudiced media, basically are saying, what? You're black, you've overachieved. Skelly was getting it.
The way certain media have been talking about Miles Lewis-Skelly is a little bit concerning. Like, some youngsters do that and, they're just cheeky. Miles Lewis-Skelly, he's arrogant, he's bitten off more than he could chew.
What do you actually think it is with the journalists? Do you think they are genuinely, intentionally playing on the fact that the country is a little bit less favourable towards people of colour? Or do you think it's genuinely just so ingrained in their head that that is actually what they see? And they're like annoyed by Rashford going on holiday, but they're not that bothered about it when it's Mason Mount?
I think they are incentivized by how they know people will react towards it. So,
which is disgusting, though, bro.
It is. No, of course it is. But like, I'm a Man United fan. We've had it with Rashi, and we've got it with Mainu now. It's like we know the trend. We know exactly what it is. And being a person of color in this country, we know the stick.
I think we underestimate like how racist some of this country is. There are people who are so openly racist, and because they've been socialized, they've been brought up in that environment. Both parents are racist. They're brought up in a place where they don't see people of color. They just think it's acceptable, and because of that, but both A, you'll get racist journalists, but B, you'll get so many people who lap it up that it creates a market for it. And I see certain, not even publications, certain individuals posting things, and consistently they'll have more quotes than likes. And I'm thinking, you cannot be ignorant at that point. You cannot pretend to not know it's happening.
Some of that really does come from the fact, though, that a couple of things. One, they know they're untouchable. Like you just said there, like, what can we actually do? The narrative that's being made around Arsenal's left back, who happens to be black, is very deliberate, is very calculated, they're waiting for him to have a bad breakup with a girl, and they will spread it like wildfire that we told you this was going to happen. And I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of racism in the country, but it's very different to America. In America, like, if someone's racist, they're from a certain place, or they have a gun, or they shoot people of a certain background, or they openly will just say, like, I don't like people of color. In this country, what I've noticed, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, especially in this industry, the moment you get to a certain point in the industry, now your race becomes important. Or the moment you get to a certain conversation, now your race becomes important. Because that's the only time when people are willing to go, actually, you know what, I don't actually like people of colour. That's where I think we're like in a really dangerous place, politically, generally, as well, off topic. But for footballers, it's very dangerous because, like, the moment he made that tackle on, I can't remember the Wolves player's name now, it's gone completely out of my head. But the moment he made that tackle, honestly, the first thing I thought was, oh man, they're going to kill him for this tomorrow. And that wasn't because I thought it was a red card. I still don't think it was a red card. It's because I thought he's a black guy from London. And I was like...
Skelly got it for a bit when he made his debut for England. Miles Lewis-Skelly, you know, he got it. I don't know if you heard, but it's easy, Charlie. I understand, obviously, as a Caucasian person, you might not see it. Do you know what I'm saying, Reds? So this is what we've all sort of just have to like acknowledge, and I totally understand. Even Gary Neville, look, it's not like there isn't a manual to this.
Yeah.
Do you know?
By all means,
it's a constant learning process, isn't it? You know, obviously social media now obviously has a big part. Remember when obviously the penalties, players who missed the penalties. You know, that all started with these bots on social media, these racist bots, and then it motivates racism. So you got to hold the government accountable.
Yeah, of course.
do you understand? But it shows like, no, you want racism. Of course, you want division. It goes back to divide and conquer, really and truly. Doesn't it? Yeah.
You want all the clout, but most of the clout is from racism. That's where you lot strive. That's the way I see it.
So yeah. Would you agree, Charlie? Like, would you like agree? There's definitely like racially biased reporting. Have you seen it for yourself?
I know what you're talking about. Like I said, I remember the Sterling one with the tattoo. Like I remember some articles and stuff. But yeah, but like I said, I think the media will just target what's easy to target, and if the easiest thing say, reference to be racist, then that's the easiest thing to If that, I'm trying to explain what I'm trying to say.
No, go ahead. No, you're right though.
So like, if it's a white person, they'll target, like you said, if working class, they'll pinpoint something that's easy to get under someone's skin or to blow. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think that's what it is. It's wrong. I do see it. But I just want to say, I do think Bellingham's massively overrated. To go back,
I wanted to touch on that.
But I do actually think he's so overrated.
But this is the problem with England. Why are we making this whole thing about Bellingham? Like there isn't other players that represent.
So many of them are.
Well, why are they making it all about Bellingham? This is the problem with England, because all the other.
I think because he's a superstar that got to move to Real Madrid.
All the other top internationals, they don't do this, Charlie. They don't do this to their top players in France and Spain. They don't do this. The pressure. They don't do this. That's the thing. The media here is just obviously it's not the media's job to be cheerleaders for the England national team. No, I'm not. I'm not saying that, but I think the pressure that the media puts, on the England national team, it's absurd.
Well, these times now we haven't won a cup.
I was going to say, I think that's part of it.
We haven't won a cup in how many years?
Yeah, I think
you're putting all the pressure on us. Like, what's?
I think that's why they do it as well, because they've won nothing for so long. I think they just pile on even more.
And people have a problem with it. I want to say, I just think England as a team, they're not as good as people think they are. No, but we got Saka, we got Foden, we got the.
Now you want to use Saka. Now you want to use Saka. But where was you at here when he was facing all these things and that, but especially with the gorilla thing, bruv?
It's like you can't. Yeah, Eze's goal. It was all about Foden's pass. I mean, like, mad. In the build up to the Euros as well, they were banging on about Foden because he won Player, I think.
Player of the season last year.
He in the build up to the Euros, I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and he just massively underperformed. I knew it was going to happen. Because I'm a media man. I watch the rhetoric. I watch I connect dots. So at the time, I was putting up loads of content about the England team, Euros football at the time, and I just kept saying, take Foden off, stop starting Foden, stop. I'll be watching it as well.
Well, they were forcing him in the team as well.
Do you know what
they
I mean?
were putting him like, was it right wing, left wing, or something?
Carrying him,
they were trying to carry him.
So like,
the film I understand.
He's a big part player, basically. Like he got to turn it into.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know where it was yet. Harry Kane did not perform well, but he didn't get he didn't get much.
He catches a blight all the time. I'll say he always lets England down when England need him the most.
Yeah.
When you need Harry Kane the most, he doesn't show up for England. And like the teams, he's had an easy run, man, with the England national team. Look at the teams that you can only beat who's in front of you, but it's like, mate.
He missed that chance in the semi-final against Croatia. He hit the post. It was like,
do you remember? You
like 1 yard out. 1 yard out.
Do you remember that?
He hit the post.
Do you remember that, Kane? Mate, I think he scored those chances with your eyes closed. That's when England needed the most. Kane gets a blight all day long. But he's still a great goal scorer and stuff like that. Fair play to him. You know what I'm saying? So he's gone to obviously a team who wins the Bundesliga every year. So you're gonna score goals. Yeah. So shout out to Ian Wright, man. Ian Wright, that discourse there is definitely and needed, and Gary Neville as well.
Yep.
I feel like he tries, and some people think he's a virtual signaller. Some people think he's just saying it. He's saying it to appease to people or to be an all-round guy, to be a crowd pleaser essentially. But
to be a crowd pleaser, he said he's saying stuff that's unfiltered. How's that crowd pleasing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we'll see. You'll see what happens, because Ian Wright was like, look, Bellingham. He messaged him. He was like, Bellingham, look, be prepared. Bellingham, be prepared for what? I'm gonna be here waiting. So let's see if it's prophecy. Let's see if Ian Wright's words are prophecy. Yeah.